Hey guys, Devin Gridley at AllFather Fitness, and today we're going to be talking about things that cause back pain, why you have back pain, how to get rid of it, and things you may be doing that you maybe think are getting rid of it, but actually aren't. And we're going to be covering all those topics. And this video is going to be a lot shorter than my recent ones I've been making. Somehow the last like 3 or 4 videos I made have been 20 plus minutes, which is crazy. I don't really mean to do that. I try to keep them, or I want to try to keep them as short as possible, just get the information out there, and then you guys learn faster, and so we'll try to make this as quick as possible and make sure it doesn't hit that 20-minute mark again, hopefully 10-15 minutes. So try and stay for the whole video, and if you can't, that sucks. Hopefully you don't miss a tip that is the reason why you have back pain. So let's jump right into it. Now, I'm sure everyone saw this one coming, bad posture. Now, the thing you probably don't realize is that you can have bad posture when you sleep. And this is actually a really big thing. And you don't really feel it when you're my age or your age. Most people who watch my videos are around my age. So when you're asleep, when you wake up, you don't really feel like you did something wrong. But you always hear adults complain about, oh, I slept wrong and my neck hurts and my back hurts or whatever, and they start to feel it more when they get older. This happens when you're a kid. You don't just magically turn 30 and then you start sleeping wrong. Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? You just don't feel it as much, but over time, and then doing things like when you go to school, you're sitting all day, and then you have to carry your backpack around and all these textbooks, and then after that you got to go to work. It's just a lot of time that you're in a bad posture position, and that's not good, especially when you go to sleep. You're supposed to be able to basically decompress all your joints, especially your spine, and you just don't because you're sleeping wrong. Now, there's not much you can really do about that. When you fall asleep, you might move around, you might not move around. If you're a person who does move around, I move around a lot. Usually you move around into a more comfortable position, so that's kind of good. But if you don't and you fall asleep in the wrong position, that's not good. So try to keep positions where your joints are completely stable. I know a lot of people, if you sleep with your arms like under the pillow, that's not good for you. That's not good for your shoulders, and it pulls your back out like this, kind of like a lat spread, and it's going to hurt the muscles that are in your back as well as your shoulder, and it's just going to cause more pain. And what a lot of people also don't realize is that pain in one area doesn't mean it's exactly hurting in that area. A lot of people fail to realize that all muscles are intertwined. They're all connected. They don't just have like a separation. They just have different uses, and they all connect, and eventually the muscle does something different, but they're all connected. So a muscle that's hurting, like your rear delt, is going to eventually hurt your back because you're, messing with it, or it's pulling a certain way, and eventually it's going to start hurting your traps or your rhomboids up in the middle of your back. So you just have to realize that if you do have some type of muscle soreness or muscle pain like that, try to get rid of it as soon as possible so you don't have any problems like that where it's pulling on any of the muscles or doing whatever it's doing. And how you would do that is try to stretch it out as much as possible, and for the shoulder joints being one of the main things that, like when you're asleep or doing whatever, you do so much with your shoulder that you just don't realize it because it works so much and in so many different ways. It's a ball and socket joint. It's able to move 360, not completely 360, but it moves the most out of every single joint in the body. So it doesn't have as much stability, so it is way easier to injure your shoulder or do something wrong to it, and it eventually pull other muscles and cause muscle imbalances and do all types of stuff like that, which eventually lead to pain and shoulder pain and all that good stuff. So bad posture, really watch your posture. Try to sleep in a neutral position where you're on your back or you're on your side, but not your shoulders up, and keep your shoulders down in any way like that. And just try to keep all your joints in a neutral position. They're not some crazy whack twisting over, nothing like that. Just try to be in a neutral position, and over time the pain will go away, and then from there you have to start building the muscle up, so when you do things like that, it's not going to affect it as much, really. And that's the thing we're jumping into. The second thing is muscle imbalance or lack of muscle. So if you have muscle imbalances, this is another thing where muscles can pull on one another because one is either stronger or bigger than another one. So we'll take the lats, for example. It happens a lot in the lats. If you don't know what the lats are, they're the big muscles that people call wings, and they go from here and they wrap all the way down to the bottom of your back, and they just make like a triangle on the back of your back. And a lot of people have problems with this because it's such a hard muscle to get a mind muscle connection to. So when you're doing the movements for it, like a pull up or a pull down or a pull over, any type of pulling movement really works the lats. Usually it's the side that you're most dominant on. So I'm right-handed. So when I do a row, I feel it way more in my right than I ever do on my left, right? So causing muscle imbalances in that is really, really common. And if you have a muscle that is just more dominant than the other side of the muscle, it's going to pull on it and cause pain in either the muscle or eventually pull your joints out of alignment, basically. And it's just going to cause pain, maybe impingement, things like that. And that's obviously no good. And how you can really visualize that so it makes more sense: if you do a pulling movement and one side's more dominant, this side's more dominant, so this side is literally pulling more and more weight. So it's going to be, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be flexing more. Like when I use it, doesn't matter how like minuscule I use it. If I use it to pull like my desk open right here, it just uses more, it just pulls more than your left side would. And that just causes, since all muscles are intertwined, it's going to cause it to pull more and cause pain. And that's a muscle imbalance. So the next thing we're talking about is lack of muscle. So having lack of muscle means that your joints are taking over more than your muscles are, and that's no good, especially when it comes to your back. And this happens a lot because your back is involved in everything that you do. It doesn't matter what you do, your back is involved. You're doing deadlifts, you're doing squats, you're doing bench press, you're doing pull downs, pull ups. It doesn't matter what, every exercise in the gym, your back is involved in it. And everything in life, like everything you're doing, your back is involved. Not just in the gym. When you're walking, your back has to hold you up. And if you have lack of muscle in the abdominal areas and the back, your spine has to take the load of that, and that's no good. You want to be able to have a strong enough core as well as having a strong enough back to just keep you high and stable and good to go, and your muscles can support that instead of your back always doing it. And this is why people have bad posture, is because they have a lack of muscle or not enough strength in their muscles to be able to hold them up properly. So people always are slouching over time. Like maybe they have it good most of the day, but they have such a lack of muscle and strength that their muscles just cannot hold them up as good as someone who goes to the gym and works out those muscles a lot and has a surplus of that muscle would be, right? So yeah, that ties into the bad posture thing. Now we're going to talk about improper use and overstimulus. Now, lots of people have improper use of their backs, whether they're bending down with their backs or picking stuff up with their backs. If they're in the gym and they're not using proper form, it's going to affect how your back is looking. Like when you're doing a bench press, if you're doing it completely flat, it's not how you do it. You have to arch your back. If you're doing a squat and your back is arched like this, or a deadlift and you're arching your back, that's no good. That's going to really, really hurt your back. And that goes with every exercise, really. You have to have proper form to be able to do that. So, and this goes with anything. And proper use just goes into bad posture. You have to have good posture when you're doing anything, especially in the gym, because if you use the muscles wrong like that, it's really going to hurt you and you can get injured, and it's going to be really bad, because back injuries are probably the worst thing you can ever go through. Because if you injure your back muscles, then what's taking the load? Your spine is. And if your spine is taking more load, there's more chance of something like a slip disc happening, impingement on nerves. You could potentially even crack a muscle if somehow you manage to do that. If you're doing a heavy squat or whatever, and your muscles just stop working or whatever, and that's obviously a big problem. And the next thing is overstimulus. Now, I don't think a lot of people work their back out so much that it causes back pain, because I work my back out a lot. I have back day right before my leg day, which I do squats and deadlifts on, and I don't have back pain from doing those things. So saying that overstimulus, I mean it more in a way that you're just using your back for too many things. Like if you're putting weight on a bar, if you take the weight off of the hinges of wherever it is, like you take it off, if you bend down with your back, you take it off, you pick it up like that, instead of using your legs by squatting down, taking it off, and getting back up with a completely straight and neutral back. And just doing that over time, as well as doing things like I said, we sit at school for however many hours, and then we're carrying these backpacks around with textbooks in them, and then we go to work and we go to gym or we do sports, and over time it's just enough that it starts to cause pain, and that's obviously no good. So really try to like watch yourself when you're, or not watch yourself, but just try to like see yourself and know that, hey, I shouldn't lift this weight up like that, or I shouldn't be doing this, or I have bad posture in class right now, maybe I should sit up for a little bit. And eventually over time your muscle will basically just get like, it'll just be muscle memory, and you'll always know, like, without even thinking about it and forcing yourself to, you'll just always have a straight back. And that's obviously good. And over time, it does take time, but eventually you will get there, and your back pain will almost disappear because you're making these small little changes, and that's what it comes down to. So if you already have back pain, how do you get rid of it? For me, I actually had really bad back pain. I don't know if I have some type of actual problem, or it was just like all these little things that just added up and gave me a lot of back pain. But when I was like 15, and the reason I say that is because my dad has back pain, his dad has back pain, his dad has back pain, so I assume it could be something like genetically, I just have a bad lower back or whatever it may be. And when I was a kid, one time I got really badly injured falling off a bike and hitting my back on stuff. It was a whole situation, but that doesn't matter. How do you get rid of it? The way I got rid of it was actually finding the deadlift. When I started, I didn't deadlift for probably a year and a half, 2 years maybe into my training. I just never went and did it. I like squats more, and then I ripped my abdomen and I couldn't squat as much as I could. I couldn't squat as often. It's just, I couldn't do my favorite lift. So what do I have to do to train my legs? And I found the deadlift, and I thought, that's awesome. And I'll start doing the deadlift, as well as the fact the deadlift is said to work out the most muscles, which it does. And that's good for me because I want the most muscle gain, and all that good stuff. And it increases your strength. It's just a good all around. But indirectly, by doing the deadlift, over time my back pain went away, because when you're doing the deadlift you have to have absolutely perfect posture. You cannot mess your posture up at all, and you're working out the muscles as you're doing that, so they're being torn in the sense of like creating hypertrophy and strength, so micro tears, and then they're rebuilding that way, because if I'm doing a deadlift and my back is completely set, neutral, everything's tensed up, and I'm doing that deadlift, it's gaining the strength to do that while also creating micro tears to form the muscle to be bigger. So I no longer have, it's gonna make sure I don't have any muscle imbalances because I'm building more muscle on top of it. It's gonna make sure I have a not lack of muscle because I'm building more muscle, obviously, and I'm definitely not gonna have improper use of the muscle because I have perfect posture when I'm doing the deadlift, right? So I can't have bad posture. That just took out all three of the main things that cause back pain out of the situation. So if you do have back pain, really try and do deadlifts. Really, a lot of people say that the risk to reward ratio is just, it's not there, and that you shouldn't do deadlifts and blah 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 blah. But really, try it. Don't go out and 1 rep max every single week or whatever. Do a few good sets of it, and try to keep them lower. You don't want to do super high sets like within 12 or 6 to 12. I keep it 6 and under really, and stop at like 3. 3's a pretty heavy load, and just do that like once a week. And then from there, if your back pain still isn't, it's just not working out, really try stretching as well as foam rolling. Foam rolling is amazing. It is one of the best things that I've ever found when it comes to flexibility and stretching and all that good stuff. And another really good tip that a lot of people don't realize is, or not realize, but the back is able to be compressed down, and you can actually feel it, and it's not really painful, but it just feels like pressure, like really heavy pressure. Like if you imagine putting a squat on your back and you lift it off, you feel that pressure in your spine, and it's like that without the bar there. And how you get rid of that is two ways. You lift yourself up from something. So like I have arm rests right here. I know you can't see them, but I lift myself up like this, and then my back over, like it basically pulls it down. If you do it a certain way, you just kind of mess with like angles and kind of moving around a little bit, but just put all the dead weight into like your hips, and you'll hear like a, and then your back feels amazing afterwards. It just feels like your entire back just got stretched out. You could do that, or if you have a pull-up bar at home or at your gym, you hang from the pull-up bar and you just kind of try to stretch back as much as possible and put that dead weight into your hips, and it'll pop and it feels amazing. Your back feels great afterwards. And especially if you're doing this on squat or deadlift days and you feel like your back is just so compressed, go do that before your next set. You'll feel 100% right after that. It's amazing. Or roll your back, but a lot of gyms don't have foam rollers, but almost every gym has a pull-up bar or something to push yourself off of from. So definitely do those. Those are amazing techniques. As well as, a lot of people don't know, but if you have shoulder problems, doing dead hangs from a pull-up bar, like I'm talking about, just hanging from it and letting your back pull, it actually sets your shoulders up in a completely neutral position, and it lets like gravity just hang from them, and it creates just enough slight tears in tendons and muscle fibers and ligaments that when they go and heal, the little micro tears, they become stronger, and it could potentially get rid of things like impingement in your shoulders, as well as just shoulder pain in general if you've ever injured yourself. And I've read plenty of studies about doctors actually using this technique instead of doing surgery on people who have torn ligaments, or, well, I guess not torn, but partially torn and partially torn tendons. So definitely go and try that if you want, if you have shoulder pain. But those are the things I can tell you about back pain, how to get rid of it, and all that good stuff. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as well as commenting down below. If you have any questions, comment down below and I will get back to you. If you have anything you want to know about anything fitness related, really, put it down in the comments and I will get back to you with a video as soon as possible. But that is all I got, and I will see you in the next one.